Well, the others are talking. Let's look at some art. And I'm going to do you a walkabout in the exhibit. There's some 100 pieces. We're not going to see them all. But it is a good place to begin right here. All the work here, well, for the most part, comes out of collaboration between water scientists and artists. And this was initiated out of the University of Saskatchewan, these collaborations. And this is some of the work. And the first series of pieces by Ryan Brynjolfsson. Now, Ryan is part of the River on the Run Artist Collective, as is Sam Bardman and myself, who are also in the show. And we joined with Louise Arnell, who initiated this whole water project. And you can see work on the virtual water gallery. But some of that work we have here. So this is some of Ryan's work that came out of working with scientists who were looking at the melting of permafrost in the north and the disappearance of the forests. When they charted the forest years ago in return, they found that the trees that they had charted are now gone, absent. And only by digging into the peat moss do they discover the tops of these disappeared trees. And so you get that sense with some of Ryan's work, and the tragedy of it is also portrayed. The water scientist colleague that Dr. Jennifer Bolzer is portrayed here in one of the sites that's being investigated in the north. And so you have different moments of her work over the past year, and these projects extended for roughly a 12-month period, and they're just finishing up now. And they'll be concluding with an exhibit in Canmore, but a lot of the work is on the virtual water gallery. And this is another 3 pieces from that series that the Smithsonian Institute are taking these on a road show on permafrost melt. And so they'll be traveling for a couple of years, serving as part of that storytelling and description of the ongoing effects. The sculpture are a bit of a surprise. The agreement I had was to do drawings. We were going to take old maps from the 19th century and do drawings over them to show how things had altered. But a neighbor brought me a bunch of wood, which said, "What do you want to do with this?" And I began discovering the rivers hidden in the wood. The grain suggested river. So all of a sudden the drawing was given up and there were a series of sculptures done instead. This is called Damaged River Music near the Kiask Hydro Dam, which is on the Nelson. It's the most recent celebration of human mastery of nature and human dominance of river and the surrounding forests and animals. So Damaged River Music is the title. So this particular piece is done with oak. This is oak, and which actually isn't found that far north. But cousins are, and certainly the people who are up there working on the projects are from the south here, from the south where these trees come. And so it's a mixture of hammered wire and oak, and also hammered copper wire that's patinaed, as well as black wire twisted. all in the service of creating a sense of broken music that is a result of the savaging of the river system. And this is another piece called Grieving Forest near Missy Falls Hydro Dam, and the particular piece of wood that I'd retrieved from the dumpster seemed to depict a howling tree, as it were, and the hammered iron nails are from an old house along the river, built in the 1880s, and a grieving forest is very much part of the scene. Here actually is a related drawing. The work moves between the interplay of rivers and forests along the Nelson and other rivers, because certainly every river is a promise of a forest in the same way that every tree is a promise of a river. It contains a little river, and it releases a fountain and little river into the sky through its leaves throughout the summer. And so the interplay of trees, rivers, water is a very real one. This particular caption suggests that. It says, trees hold fire of the sun, trees hold water of rivers, hold earth of shorelines, hold air of skies. Who among us is not held by trees? After a summer of forest fires, the attention to trees actually ended up growing this past summer. And so this piece emerged, and it's called Calls to Prayers. And it's a little uncertain whether the calls are of lament or of celebration. It's most evidently a call to grief, but at the bottom, the rabbits managing to burst forth amidst it all also might invite thanksgiving and gratitude, and so we dance between the two and leave it with that ambiguity of calls to prayers. The lichen was just so striking when I came across this piece of wood cast away down in the workshop where we live, in the co-op. So other pieces, there are just a couple of others, and I want to take you up to see Sam Bardman's photographs. This piece of ash and hammered copper and beaten in copper wire is called Salmon Catches Bear. And that a friend, Lois Kunkel, suggested, having done that, it needed a story. So a story has been written. But behind it is the realization that the great trees, the ancient trees of the West Coast in the rainforest, were discovered to have sea nitrogen. So not that many years ago, scientists' investigation discovered that the N15 nitrogen that's in the trees, being a sea nitrogen, was most perplexing. And eventually they realized that integral to the ecosystem were the salmon coming up the rivers, being eaten, and then the bears defecating. But the bears only eat a little of the salmon. They eat the brain, they eat a bit of the gut, and they leave the rest. And that's where eagles and ravens, that's where mink and fox come, and they eat and they defecate and spread throughout the forests the good salmon and the sea nitrogen. So the interplay and interdependence becomes clear. So this is salmon catching bear, and which is a little reversal. And the question is, how did bears start eating salmon? And so a trickster story emerged. Shoreline ritual number 4. Make yourself into a little bridge between the land and the lake. A little whimsical piece, which is part of this world of our living out along the waterways. We're going to go upstairs now and take a look at some of Sam's work and a few more drawings from the court case of the creatures, perhaps. Now this is some of Sam's work. Sam Bardman. He's not only a very popular musician, he's a photographer. And Sam, 2 years ago, was on the Red River taking pictures of shorelines. It was I think middle of January, early February, when he fell through the ice out in the middle of the river and found himself up to his neck in water. And he realized that his chance of getting out of this, because the current is tremendous under the ice in the Red River as the water's under pressure. And but he managed one gesture and managed to pull himself out onto the ice. But he was traumatized, deeply traumatized. And for weeks and weeks, he was really debilitated by this horrific kind of event. But then after numerous weeks, he found himself compelled to go up to the lake and along the shoreline and up along the river shoreline in late February and take all his clothes off and set up the camera. First he set up the camera, then he took his clothes off. Very smart. He's a high school graduate, is Sam. And so he set up the camera, and then he would bare ass go into the ice and into the forest and begin regaining a fulsome sense of its place in nature. And so these are a whole series of photographs called immersion. And the work of art in terms of working the personal landscape and the geography of the heart becomes very evident in Sam's work. That this particular series reflects that moving through trauma. And so there's a series here that we will look at that show that Sam regaining the interplay of human and nature and reattaching himself to the earth that also was part of his watery immersion. And so renegotiating his existence as a creature of the earth. So a creature of the earth with a camera has yielded this. And so each piece, it becomes something of a playful challenge to find Waldo, or in this case, Sam, in the picture. And it's not always easy. Sometimes it's more evident than other times. And so we can walk around and have a linger at some of these. Now these two I find particularly engaging in their own way. The body form and the ice is strikingly evident here. And this is characteristically one of the more ambiguous pieces beside that one. And that's this one from the Immersion series, Self-Portraits. There's a piece over here I'd like you to take a peek at with me, and this is Sam immersed in a tree trunk. And then we'll go over and take a look at a couple of other pieces with Sam in the river, a more traditional art felt piece. Now, humor is very much part of many of these. There's a certain amount of whimsy going on, and here certainly looking through the tiger lily, and then again find Waldo Sam in this particular piece becomes the onlooker's challenge. Now, a favorite piece of Sam's is right here, too. Favorite of mine, that is, of Sam's, and this is at McGilvery Creek in the White Shell. The three of us from River on the Run were out for a day, and Sam did some self-portraits. And this is one that he took in the river at McGilvery Falls in the White Shell. We're going to look at some more of these, some of Ryan's most recent collaboration with poet Jerry Wolfram. Just show you a couple of pieces from the book of the artist Ryan and the poet Jerry. And so they did a series, a book called Girl in the Clock, and with about 40 drawings actually. And these are some of the pieces from the book, and they have an innocence. The drawings have an innocence, but the text is an emerging move to experience. So echoing Blake, innocence and experience, but playing off a more innocent drawing in this case, until we get into some of the other pieces that deal with the environment. And the book deals with settler kind of memory of a third generation settler trying to re-engage with a more true relationship with all the relatives, and to regain a sense of good role in this place. So take a look at this one. I think it's sort of indicative of the other ones. And in it, you see Ryan's work, which echoes the earlier drawing downstairs of the creatures hanging on for dear life, one to the other. Cosmologies. The human animal, created first or last? Tell me your cosmology, some elders say. Two-leggeds are so weak, defenseless, foolish. The Creator made a web of other creatures first to teach and feed the humans, show them how to live. Others, academics, speak of humankind as flung into the world, bereft, alone, no web of care or love, no safety there at all. Tell me your cosmology. What are we, flung or caught and held? And so that's one of many very engaging pieces from the book, The Girl in the Clock, that Ryan and Jerry did. Seeing it's in the midst of the horrors in the Ukraine and Senegal and Ethiopia and Colombia as well, and in other countries where violence is unbridled in so many cases. There are some drawings here that might be timely, even though they were done quite a while ago, but they now appear in the show given the circumstance. Some people say that art is timeless, I think that's foolishness. I think art is maybe timely again and again, and that's more the case. In other times, it's not timely at all, and out of sorts with what's needed or what's to be engaged. But there's a timeliness to this, perhaps. And the caption reads, "It all started when they hit me back." The other, which is an old fave, it reads, "I am a cannibal. I kill an enemy and then I eat him." The nation's leaders and generals are not cannibals. Yet wouldn't the world be a better place if they were only allowed to kill as many people as they could eat? But, why listen to me, I'm only a savage. And the interior foolishness that often goes on when fear roots us or unroots us to one another in the ground. He thought I wanted to kill him. That made me afraid that he would try to kill me, so I had to kill him. So there's a sampling of that series. There are just a few here we'll end with, and this is from, again, water-related, and again related to the world of the collaborations with scientists, but also collaborations with ecological activists, which has been ongoing for all of us, Ryan and myself in particular. And this is from a book called The Court Case of the Creatures. And these are some drawings. Actually, it begins here, and the beginning of the story is rooted in the ancient rabbinic tale of the creator consulting with the animals, whether or not he should create or she should create human beings. And the animals, in this case, they would warn off the creator from such foolishness. And so begins the story. And the creator, of course, goes ahead, being foolish as creators are, and creates the human being. And then we have the unfolding tales, not only of the first murder, but the ongoing violence against people on the earth. And in this case, it plays out in northern Manitoba, and the animals have a court case after a bunch of developers are cast onto an island in a tempest, along with a judge and a group of children. And the animals make a citizen's arrest, bring the developers to the judge. The judge appoints the children as the jury, and so begins the court case of the creatures. And that's what these drawings are from. So thank you for going for a little walkabout. And I think the folks having a little get acquainted pairings and fours will be coming back together in a minute. And after they've shared the kind of places in nature that most engage them, that hearten them, as well as events that maybe strike them most hurtfully in terms of a vision of the well-being of the earth, and signs of good things happening where these the wellness of the earth is engaged and mending is taking place, or the earth is being defended. So take a break, and in 2 minutes we'll be rejoining the whole gang. Meanwhile, we'll just maybe fix on a picture and say goodbye for now. See you in a minute.